In this episode of Poddenham Podspur, I chat with Bren of the Cheese Room podcast. We talk about the origins of his show, the importance of creating connections between Spurs supporters, featuring in the All or Nothing Amazon documentary, and his life in Brazil. If you like this episode, please check out the Cheese Room. It's a great show and always has something interesting to say. Please also consider subscribing to Poddenham Podspur for more deep dives into Tottenham podcasts, and leaving me 5 stars on Spotify if you like what you hear. So enjoy, COYS.
Hello, Bren. How are you?
Very well, very well. How are you doing, Iain? Thanks for having me on.
Now, this is great because we've been chatting for a while in the. This is a little bit of how the sausage is made, folks. We're chatting in the official supporters club WhatsApp group for a while, and we both didn't realise we were in there. I think. Which is...
Yeah, I listened to your pod a few times, and I saw you got your WhatsApp, and I'm like, hang on, Iain, you're in the group. So yeah, it was a surprise, and I was like, let's pod together. So I'm glad we managed to get this done.
Yeah, it's always fun to talk to a fellow podcaster and B a fellow supporters club chair. I was chatting to Mike Lee of the Spurs show, and he's obviously chair out in Portugal as well. So
of course, yeah.
Yeah, there's something about that obsession with Spurs that just drives us into, especially if you move away from England, into creating communities and podcasts and thing. I think there's a link there. That's my hypothesis.
But it's also an indication that we are massive. Like we are like,
oh yeah,
that WhatsApp group. We've just trying to think. So we have Uganda Spurs are in there, Iran Spurs, Singapore, Japan. Obviously, loads of Aussies, loads of American. I'm Brazil. We are massive, and it's a beautiful thing, that WhatsApp group.
Yeah, and obviously you're represented well on the Cheese Room podcast as well, which you are a co-host of, which pulls fairly internationally, right?
We it's how it started. Was 8 years ago now, I think. So 2018. So yeah, so I actually joined at the end of the first season. So the Miracle of Amsterdam, hence my Amsterdam shirt I'm wearing today, which I bought the day after. Adidas stuff lasts a while.
Nice.
So the Cheese Room sort of was formed out of a Facebook group called Glory Tottenham Hotspur. And
I remember that. I think I was part of that years ago. Although at the very least there were about 20 different ones with Glory in the name.
Yeah. Well, this was, I think, the big, like the one with lots of admins, and so it was started by an Aussie guy called Aaron Jolly, who sort of brought together some of the heads from the contributors on that Facebook group and said, "Look, I wanted to start a podcast." So it was really him that sort of had the energy at the beginning to get it off the ground, and it was an international. The whole sort of niche was make it international. So we had chairs of different official supporters club. We had Boston Spurs, obviously Sydney Spurs, Austria Spurs, Toronto. So all different sort of official supporters club chairs were contributors to the podcast at the beginning, and we kind of got a bit lazy and sort of reverted to type. Now it's just a bunch of middle-aged Brits doing it now, but at the beginning, it was the whole point was to be that international Spurs podcast. And we had Gary Stevens on regularly at the beginning, which he's sort of tuning in from Thailand, I believe it was, or Taiwan. I get those two confused. But yeah, no, I joined towards the end of the first season, and I was just a listener. So I was in that Facebook group. I didn't really listen to Tottenham podcasts. I just listened to The Guardian Football Weekly at the time, and sort of started to listen to that because I travel a lot across Latin America, and so sitting in airports a lot, listen to that podcast, and just thought I joined. So I sort of said, I pretended that I was Brazil. I am now Brazil Spurs, but I wasn't at the time. So I sort of, to join the podcast, I sort of said, I'm Brazil Spurs. I checked with Brazil Spurs that they didn't mind me lying. And they were like, yeah, it's fine. So I've been co-host ever since. So it's 7 years now.
So why don't you tell me about how you got into Spurs, how you found the club, familial ties or happenstance, and what maybe attracted you to lying to the Cheese Room people about your affiliation with Brazil Spurs?
So I've been here for 20 years. I don't have many English-speaking friends. So and now my kids are at an age where we have sort of similar interests and stuff. But at the time, I sort of didn't really have many friends that spoke English out here, and so it was. I joined the podcast for that, to make friends, to feel closer to the club that I love and have loved since I was 10. I think I was trying to remember when I started supporting. So it wasn't because of my dad. A lot of the times it's the dad that brings the curse of Spurs to people, but it was mates. Like, my dad doesn't like football. He's a chess player. My first football game was actually a Brentford game when they were in 3rd division. And my dad took me because I got the ticket for free as part of some school summer training camp. And he sat there doing a crossword. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And yeah, just I think my mates. So I think I started supporting Spurs around 11, and it's quite boring just because the mates that I hung out with at the time all supported Spurs. And my first game was 96 against Sheffield Wednesday, 1-0, I think, and Chris Armstrong scored. And I loved it. I was hooked. Like, I don't know if you remember your first game. Like, it's so vivid, isn't it? The smell of the burgers, the horse shit, the police horses. It's an amazing experience, the first game.
I was a bit older when I went to my first game because I grew up outside of London and then couldn't afford to go in my first couple of years of uni. So I remember me and my brother went to a UEFA Cup game. So like Under the Lights was the first game. It was winter. It was like Harry Redknapp's 3rd game, I think, 2nd or 3rd game. So that was a really cool time to be there. And yeah, you're right. There's all those little sensory things that as you walk up the steps to Old White Hart Lane, and then all of a sudden this bright green, mecca, suddenly appears in front of you, and there's that tingle up your spine. Yeah, it's if for anybody listening who hasn't made the pilgrimage, you have to. It's so cool.
Yeah, you're right. And so I was 13, I think, and I was quite a shy kid. I was quite reserved, and I wouldn't say I was bullied. I wouldn't go that far, but I was, the in-betweeners. I was definitely an in-betweener. I was sort of kept in my place. And so Spurs was like my outlet. I went, so it was a Christmas present for my parents. They knew how much I loved Spurs. And so they got me a junior Spurs ticket. And I became a junior Spurs member. And I went, this is how old the people, I went with the parents of people that my parents played bridge with, this amazing elderly couple, Joan and Ed. And I felt so safe. Like, I did a podcast with Tim Vickery, I've done a few with Tim, and he told me his first time, he said he was so scared. Like, his first game, I just felt so safe because I'm with this elderly couple. Who's going to start on an elderly couple? So for me, Tottenham was that. It was that escape, that belonging to something bigger than yourself and feeling part of something. The chanting, the support, the passion. It's enchanting. It's something. It's undescribable. The effect, and yeah, it hooks you, and you're hooked from then on.
Yeah, it's a special club, and it's that high risk, high reward nature of the club too. As we've seen, it could be anything in any season, and everyone's mostly together. Like, we argue and bicker. It's a bit of a family, really, right? We all still love each other. We all still want to get along. And I think that's how podcasting comes in. I think it really does give people that globally, that community, that ability to reach out and feel, you could be in, I don't know, Antarctica on a mission or something, right? And you could tune in and you could feel like you're in touch with the club. You're in touch with listening to like Spurs fans and like, yeah, I identify with that. And I agree with this opinion. And yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a really cool place to be in. So you joined the cheese room. Just coming back to it really quick. You said it was 7 years, and you've picked up like a number of co-hosts along the way. It's quite a big kind of cast of characters who appear. How's that fitting in with your experience of looking for that community, and how do you think that's kind of reflected in the podcast that you guys produce?
Yeah, no, it's good. Like, the characters is a good word to describe it. And we said at the beginning we had a much broader cast than we do now, and we had a meeting recently of the main heads, and we want to sort of get the old band back together a bit and try and get people, because things change. Life comes at you. Kids are born. People get divorced. People change jobs. There's all sorts of life occurrences that obviously are priority over the podcast. But
and people obviously get a little sick of Spurs. That's another major thing. I've seen it this year with podcasts. The number have stopped this year. I can only imagine it's because of a bit of fatigue of talking about the same thing every week.
Yeah. Certainly, when you're losing week in, week out for 2 years, it takes its toll, and it strains relationships. It really does. And but hopefully now with all these incredible signings we're making, and that we stayed up, and we've got a manager that everyone seems to be getting behind, that next season will be better. But yeah, I just, like I said, I wanted to connect, and the friends that I've made on the podcast are some of my best friends, and it's strange. I only actually see them physically once a year, twice a year. I've got to be going back in September, so whenever I do come over, obviously I get to a game and see the guys from the podcast. But it's always sort of on the other side of the world. I'll be doing a pod with Seb in up north, with Franco in London, with Sean in Toronto, with Paul in Sydney, and so it is incredible that we do still manage to keep it going. But you're right that it is dependent on Spurs giving us something in return. It's enjoyable to relive a victory, to share your insights and tactically and the feeling. And if you have someone that was at the games, always ask them what was the atmosphere like. And us being overseas, hearing that, it does sort of make you remember what it was like going to games. So yeah, no, it is something special. I do love podcasting. It can be a drag sometimes, and I tend to over edit. I think I spend too much time editing when I should just tidy it up a bit and just get it out. I think people need to just, I worry too much about the products that we produce and that we publish. I think I need to just let it go.
It's a blessing and a curse, right? That perfectionist approach. You're trying to put the most in that you can, but at the same time, you've got to let it be a little raw and actually reflect how the conversation went. I enjoyed your chat with the caller this week when we went as we record. It just felt very intimate, like two people just chatting away. Like very often the cheese room has 2, 3, 4 people, and those conversations do have to have a rhythm to them to allow everyone to get something to say. But when it's just two people chatting, it's much more. It flows in a different way. So I enjoyed that, and I hope you can do a few more of those over the coming seasons of those kind of more intimate chats.
Yeah, absolutely. We do, like I said, it was probably a bit too formulaic that it's always the host, 2 guests, and we review games. So we very rarely sort of have the bigger picture pods, which we do. We sort of, and so yeah, we do need to do more. So what we used to do is Franco would do the weekend pods, the weekend games, and I do the midweek games if there was a midweek game. So I mean, we kind of stuck to that, but you're right that people sometimes just want to hear 2 guys that are relatively informed and erudite talk about what's going on in Spurs world, talk about the transfers, talk about the board, talk about whatever's happening in Spurs world in a nice sort of calm, casual way. So yeah, no, for sure, we'll it's good to hear that they're well received.
I think they're very well received. So talk to me about the name. So you weren't there at the beginning, but why do you think the infamous cheese room was selected? And do you want to share with anybody who might be newer to the fan base, or perhaps isn't as terminally online as a few of us are, where the where the inspiration for the cheese room came from?
Sure. So it was, as you know, when the stadium was being built, there's the rumor that there would be a fromagerie, there would be a cheese room and I've kind of seen a lot of through connections that I've made through the podcast with former playing staff and with Sandro, that I've seen levels of hospitality that is on offer at the stadium. So it was just a weird name for people to remember. You know, if it was just Spurs Chat, it's kind of like, that's why Poddenham Podspur, like you're not going to forget that name. It's a great, so with podcasts, it's important to have, and like Fighting Cock, Extra Inch, like they're names that aren't just sort of archetypal Spurs Chat or Tottenham talk. It's a strange name that sticks in people's minds, and it sort of helped build that brand at the beginning. I think we were very proud that we were featured in the Amazon doc. We were so surprised when the production company approached us and asked permission to use our content. I'm like, yeah, you can use it. And then, and yeah,
Gosh, I'd forgotten about that. You're absolutely right. I'm such a terrible interviewer that I missed that. Wow. Refresh my memory, because was that when they were just using recordings of various podcasts talking about what was happening on the pitch at the time?
yeah.
Yeah, because the extra inch I remember being in there too, if I'm correct.
It was, yeah,
I
there was
remember
loads of
yeah.
Ricky Sacks. So
Yeah.
I've been on Last Word on Spurs a few times recently. So, but yeah, and I sort of joked with Ricky that I was, because I was so proud. I was like, I had, and this is the nerdiest brag. I had the longest single fan content clip in the Amazon doc. So I had a 19-second uninterrupted clip of my voice. And I watched the series back again and made mental sort of timings of each content. That's how sad and pathetic I am. But yeah, no, we had 3 clips in there. The main one was that one. It was weird. It was a nothing clip as well. It was just I was speculating about Mourinho being fired after a game against Burnley or something. Yeah, it was just before the game against Burnley. I think we drew and Delhi scored a penalty or something. But yeah, it was just a nothing. And they put this weird distortion on my voice to make it sound like I was calling in on TalkSport or something. It was, but yeah, it was, we were just so proud to sort of at the end to see the cheese room in the credits of the Amazon doc. We were just like, wow, like it was a very proud moment for the whole team.
You might have spoken more on that documentary than some of the players.
Yeah, Daniel sitting down with Ndombele to tell him to give him his motivational speech. Yeah.
Did you see a bump in numbers? I'm curious about whether that exposure,
I
kind
think
of
that was
propelled you in
probably
front of some
around.
eyes.
Yeah, that was probably around the peak. I think we because as I know, I was listening to your pod with Jack last week, or the week before. I mean, you mentioned how many pods are out there. I think you said there's around 100. So
it's like 100 between, if you include regular podcasts, so audio only type of things, stuff you'll find on Apple Podcasts, stuff you'll find on Spotify, but also it does loop in those YouTube fan creators, because it's such a bleed through, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to distinguish between the two at times.
Yeah. But yeah, the Amazon doc around that time, I think, was where we were. I don't mean we're nowhere near like the big guns like Fighting Cock and Extra Instrument and Jack, and but that was where we were probably at a peak, and that was when the sports. So we were one of the first pods to be sort of involved with the Sports Social podcast network, and then the Fighting Cock came after, and Flav called me just because the system that they used for publishing was different to what we were all used to. And so, but yeah, no, I think it's a whole combination of things that we are. It's a busy playing field out there. Like when View from the Lane came, I think that's now everyone's big choice. Like that's it really did affect our numbers when that came, because there's so much to choose from, and you kind of have to be. And for me, it was never about numbers. It was, like I said, it was about making friends, and like I said, I take pride in publishing something, but like I said, I'm probably too polished with it. I edit too much, and so just take it easy with the edits. But yeah, that was around the time, that the numbers were probably at their peak.
I think it depends on who you speak to about whether or not you do the podcast for not money, but some sort of compensation, whether that be, ego stroking or whatever, versus I do it because I want to speak to my mates. And there's definitely a dividing line on how people want to use their time. I remember speaking to Mike Lee, and he was like, "Don't bother getting into podcasting. Like, you're not going to make any money from it. But do it if you love it." Versus if you speak to some of the podcasts in more of the middle tier, it's about chatting with people you like, and it's almost like getting together in the pub. to find time, to carve out that time that is increasingly difficult as you have a busy life and have a family and other things going on, to carve out that time with friends, and you just keep your fingers crossed that people want to listen to it.
Yeah, I remember you've had Flav on as well, and the first time that Flav came on the Cheese Room, I had a sort of similar talk to him that you did, and he sort of said, don't look at your numbers, because the numbers will either give you an inflated ego or will destroy your ego. Just do it if you love it, and be true to yourself. So yeah, I kind of took that advice. I give the numbers the odd glance now and again, but just what's important for me is when I do pod with my friends that I enjoy it, and that's the key. And if you are, people will want to listen to it.
When I open up Spotify for creators to upload a podcast, I put my hand over the top left-hand corner so I can't see, or I put it over part of the screen so I can't see where the numbers show up. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to know. I don't want to get obsessed with it rising and falling and thinking, okay, this content worked, this didn't, because I can't live my life like that. I have enough stresses. I was just thinking about the name, the Cheese Room, a little bit more. It is so not outlandish, but it is so odd, and I think it speaks to a certain like gallows humor. I use that word a lot for Spurs fans, kind of poking fun at not necessarily ourselves, but at the club, and the kind of strange things that happen repeatedly within our structure. And there was something about the Cheese Room in particular that I think just grabs on. I don't want to harp on about this because that isn't what the podcast is about, but I think the fact that it's still so prominent through your podcast in the popular psyche, right? It speaks to some sort of change in the mentality of the club from a much more kind of, I would say, normal or working class club, moving in and courting a completely different type of fan. Bringing in a Cheese Room, bringing in the what is it called, the 1882 section, whatever it is that splits the south stand, all those executive boxes and special seats. But yeah, I think that the Cheese Room in particular is a really interesting name for its position as almost like an inflection point for Spurs. It's almost like you can point to it and say, okay, this is part of that transition from Spurs of the early 2000s into hopefully what they were hoping to become. And it's just an interesting time as well to start a podcast around that period.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a bit of a ramble, but sometimes I like to think highly of myself and spout some words out.
No, it's very, very profound. And yeah, you're right. It was at that time, and it was, and for the podcast itself, I think at the beginning there was, we did focus a lot on humor. We tried to make it humorous. So we had Vlad, who was the alter ego of one of the guys in Australia. I don't want to give him away now because it's like people actually believed he was a real person when it was just a guy doing a Russian voice and talking about all kinds of weird kinky things, and it was. And yeah, it was funny. And we had, as I said, a few, and with Australians, there's a few Australians in the pod at the time, and they have quite a wacky sense of humor as well. It's very Benny Hill style. Yeah. So yeah, I think we did play, and I think just after we were sort of watching as we were saying, contradicting myself here, but looking at the drop-offs at certain points in podcasts and seeing what worked and what didn't, and sometimes we thought that some of the humor didn't really work. I think people just wanted to hear people talk in a calm, casual way about the game and about Spurs, and so we kind of phased out the humour for better or worse. But we've still got some good, really good contributors that know far more about football than I do. That's why I became host, because I started off as a pundit, but I'm nowhere near as tactically aware as others. I'm much more sort of fan and sort of see football as a fan as opposed to really getting into the analytical side. So I can happily host and bounce questions off, but I'm not nowhere near as tactically astute as the others.
I'm glad you brought up evolving a podcast, because there is a phase, especially in that first, I don't know, couple of years, when you're trying stuff out and you get exciting ideas and you think, I want to see if this works. Speak to this person, I'll do this, I'll do that. And some of it you just get a good vibe and a good feeling from, and others you think, okay, was that really the way to go? So it does end up sort of settling into a groove, which I guess you must be in now to a certain extent after 7 years. I'd at least hope you feel it. But what keeps you coming back? Is it the Friends? Is it Spurs? Is it a little bit of both? Is it something else?
I'd say it's both. Yeah, I think it is. Like you said, it's enjoyable. It's a hobby as well. It's so you still have that enjoyment. And like I said, I moaned about editing and publishing, but it is just you do take pride in it as well. So I don't know what we use Audacity for our editing, and once I got the hang of it, you like I said, you sort of go too much into it. You're boosting audio here, you're cutting bits, cutting out doing all sorts of bits with it. And sometimes, like I said, I just need to let it go, because you spend hours. Because then I sometimes spend hours, and there's been times when I've recorded a pod with a special guest like Tim Vickery or someone, and my audio was off. So I've gone back and re-recorded my bits, and slotted them back in to make it sound like, and that takes hours. So
but it's huge. Tim Vickery's a massive deal, so I totally get why you did that. If people are going to be listening to it for maybe the first time, you want to put your best foot forward. I had this problem when I was interviewing Jack, a month ago now. I was previously using something called StreamYard, and sorry for getting into the weeds here, my dear listeners. But instead of giving me two audio channels like it's done every single time I've used it, gave me one audio channel for both of us. So I'm sat there spending hours trying to clean it up and do my best work with it. And I think this is something that people don't give as much of an appreciation to for the podcasters themselves, is that it isn't like just getting in front of a microphone and talking for an hour and a half, 6 hours if you're a YouTuber. It's all this time that goes into planning in the week before, WhatsApp chains, thinking up like things you want to talk about, running orders, and then editing afterwards. It is a lot more than just, I got this time between clicking the record button and then stopping the recording itself. Unless, of course, you're just a talking head on it, in which case it's turning up and talking. But
it's a good point. I mean, some podcasts do that. Some podcasts do just flick on record, publish, and don't care, and that's fine. And sometimes they do really well. So I just, like I said, when I started, that was how I was shown how it was done. But also, when after the first few months doing it, I was sort of told, right, listen to this podcast, listen to that podcast. So you can sort of, the extra inch is really good for getting that tactile analysis. Fighting Cock, the chemistry that Flav has built, it's unparalleled. Like that, I think for any football podcast, not just a Spurs podcast, like they are huge, and he deserves all the credit and all the riches that brings, because he's worked so hard to build that. So I try and sort of see as the cheese room as being a bit down the middle, where we still have good chemistry, and we still have a good sort of tactical review as well, and just to try and, because chemistry is everything. I think again you said this with Jack, that there are some where they get celebrities or like big people with big Twitter followings that don't know each other, and they plonk them in there, and that's fine. I mean, again, it's not criticizing that. I think a podcast is so much more enjoyable when the people know there's a back and forth, when they know each other, they laugh, and they're not scared to take the piss or to push buttons, because they know that their friend loves them, and they're not going to do anything to. So that's what, for me, just listening to other Spurs podcasts. You do admire them, and I think I'm similar to you in that I do have a broad sort of understanding of the Spurs pod world.
Yeah, it keeps me from being fully sane. So, what type of person do you think should listen to the cheese room? Like, who do you think you're courting?
I think looking at the demographics, middle age. So I think our key is obviously men, like predominantly men.
Yeah.
We have women, sadly, but that is the reality. Sort of 35 to 55, I think. And yeah, people that, like on other parts of the world, I think that when we began, we did build up a base and we maintained it. So we used Facebook more for our promotion than Twitter or Instagram or any of the other platforms, and because of how the pod was formed. And we Facebook shut down our Facebook page, and we still don't know why. We had tens of thousands of followers, and so it kind of killed things a bit there. But yeah, so I think Facebook users, so sort of 40 to 50-year-olds or the key demographic. But I think anyone that loves Spurs, anyone that wants to listen to some friends discuss the game or what's going on in Spurs world would enjoy it.
I think that comes across. I think it's hard to express love and affection for something, especially when times are hard. But I think you've managed to strike that pretty well. And it must resonate with people for you to have kept going for 7 years. I mean, I think I said this to Flav in my interview, was he'd been going longer than Friends, the fighting cock. But for you, even you can compare it, to other TV shows that hadn't got 7 seasons. Well, that's more than The Wire, for example.
More than The Office,
and
the UK Office, yeah.
Yeah, and so people stick with you, and they want to hear that connection. So speaking of connections,
sorry, I shouldn't forget our Patreons as well. So we do have a Patreon that we began, I think, a few years in, and it's just a community that we're all in. So we're sort of watching the World Cup today of the England game and stuff, and so we have a really good sort of community. We set up a Slack sort of account group, so all the patrons are in there, and obviously all the podcasters are in there as well, and so that's great to sort of to have that community as well. And when we go to games, we meet up with the patrons there as well. So that's been really great to see that there are people that really do depend on the pod and want the pod to come out, and get annoyed when there's a week without a pod. It's heartening.
It must be nice as a place to also get feedback, which isn't necessarily as critical as places like Twitter can be. To get a sense of what's working, what's not. Obviously, these people have already bought into what you're selling, but I imagine that those spaces must be rewarding and also enlightening for you guys.
No, we do appreciate the feedback that we get from the patrons. It's usually where's the pod? Into production feedback or comments like. But yeah, it's been, like I said earlier, with the season that we've had, it's been tough to sort of keep the podders together. Like there's been fallouts, sadly, with among the other pundits and podcasters, and which is sad, and it's the stress of what we've been going through the last couple of years. Had we been winning and playing well, but when you don't, it can bring out emotions and it can boil over and into something that can get personal. And that, for me, as someone that joined it, and the whole point was to make friends, to see people fall out. Is tough. It's probably been the toughest bit to get through as in the 7 years the pod's been going.
It does feel like we're turning a bit of a corner this summer with De Zerbi coming in, and the Lewises reaching into their pocket to spend some money. It's an exciting time. Are you looking forward to getting into it this summer? Have you been enjoying the post, I don't know, not relegation period of time to talk about Spurs again?
Yeah, no, I was so worried. I was really worried, and I think, as you know from the WhatsApp group, that I'm mates with Sandro, and he, ever since I've known him. So I met Sandro during COVID, like when I was flying to the UK to see my dad. And because he was in lockdown for a year, I hadn't seen him for a year. He's got Parkinson's, still alive, so he's still going. but at the time, I don't know if you remember, there was like a traffic light system, red, green, and amber to get into the UK, and Brazil was red list. So I couldn't fly from Brazil to the UK without a 2-week quarantine in a hotel on the Bath Road at Heathrow. And I know I'm from that part, and having to pay 1,600 quid for the privilege of staying in a hotel room for 2 weeks, where you can just leave and walk around a car park for 30 minutes a day. That was what it was. So, but I flew to Lisbon, which I could get out of the airport at Lisbon from Brazil, and still sort of did a bit of a hibernation, but a bit of a incubation, or whatever, and did the test and was negative. But I had 2 weeks in Lisbon, and then after 2 weeks in Lisbon, I could go to the UK. And Sandro lives there. And so I'd done a few pods with Sandro, and we'd kept in touch. And I bought the Brazil Spurs flag, and I said to him, can we meet up or take a picture with the Brazil Spurs flag? He's like, yeah. So I went and met up with him at his apartment, and that was the first time I met him in person. And even then he was like, De Zerbi is the best manager he's ever played under, by a mile. And obviously we've become much closer over the how long ago was that? 6 years, 5-6 years. And he's so happy that we got De Zerbi. He was at the vindication as well. Like I've got a WhatsApp group with him and Flav, and he's like, I told you guys, I told you, because he came with the Fighting Cock, and we did a social actually. And Flav asked him, he's like, do you think De Zerbi would make a good manager? He's like, yeah, he would be our best manager. And lo and behold.
What a WhatsApp group, Sandro and Flav. Do you ever pinch yourself a little bit? I know it's not like I'm a celebrity or anything. It's just kind of a weird place to be in, right? To go from joining because you want to make friends to all of a sudden being friends or friendly. I'm not sure how you would, position yourself with like an actual Spurs player. It must just be a little mind blowing at times. I know growing up, I would have chewed off an arm to to be on first name terms with a Spurs player.
Yeah, no, I love him, and he loves me. Like it is amazing, and he's an incredible person. Anyone that's met him will know the energy that he has, the love that he has for Tottenham. So, to be his mate, like we talk all the time. He's just got a job in Portugal. He's manager of a third division side. So when De Zerbi joined, he got in touch and he was really keen to be on De Zerbi's backroom staff because he was his captain in Italy at Benevento or Sassuolo or both, and so they're close. And so when it's a bit peek behind the curtain. So when we were playing Forest and we lost to Forest, I was sort of texting with Sandro, and he's like, De Zerbi just texted me. He's watching the game. And I was like, do you reckon he's going to come? And he's like, well, he asked me if I think Spurs will go down, and I said, I hope not. And that was obviously Tudor's last game, and then he joined just after. And so we desperately tried. So we got him on Last Word on Spurs. We didn't manage to get him on the Fighting Cock, but he went on TalkSport. He went on COYS GB News show, which I didn't even know was a thing. And yeah, we pushed it to get him. But I think De Zerbi was just like, I can't have a cheerleader. I'm sorry, I'm too professional. So it didn't happen, sadly. But he's got a job now. He's working in for Sporting Club São João de Ver in the third division of Portugal. So I'm so proud of him. Like he's going to be an amazing coach. He's still so young.
Yeah. Watch this space. He's got such a positive attitude. I can only hope that brings him good things. My mate Max went on a stadium tour 2 years ago. Every time Max went over to the UK to see Spurs, hopefully, he always went during an international break or an away game, like just because of how his schedule ended up going. So he did a Legends tour, and he was the only guy on the Legends tour with Sandro. So we got this personal one-on-one, and Sandro's like taking his phone and taking selfies together for him, and I think he put his phone number in and doing all these really lovely things. And like, there's so many stories about him like that. The fan base was really across the board putting some energy into hoping that he could bring some Tottenham DNA to De Zerbi's backroom stuff. That's what we've heard a lot, about ex-players coming in and giving that identity back to Spurs, or at least informing, managerial sort of leadership of what it means, what this club means to the fans, and what it should be.
Yeah.
So yeah, good luck to him. So speaking of Brazil, you're there at the moment. We're in the middle of a World Cup. I've got to ask you, how are things? What's the excitement around Brazil at the moment? Obviously, a tight game against, well, tight, but a tight scoreline against Japan a few days ago.
Yeah, just 2-0, still 2-0 to Senegal. Yeah, so it was actually my birthday on Monday, and
Happy birthday!
I had a bit of a free pass and took the half day off work, and there was so I live by the beach, and there's like a shopping complex, open air shopping complex thing close by, and they have this giant screen, and my friend was there, and I said to my wife, "Oh, do you mind if I go?" She's like, "Yeah." There was maybe a couple of hundred people there, and I got there just right at the end when they got the winner in the 90-something minute, and I was the celebration. So I think Brazilians know their football, and they've seen France, and they're seeing that France are just playing a different sport to everyone else. So I don't think they're expecting to win the thing. I think they have Norway next, and with Haaland obviously is quite popular here as well. So. But yeah, I feel a bit of a curse on Brazil. So I moved here in 2006. The previous World Cup was 2002, which they won. They haven't even come close to winning it since I moved to Brazil. I said this to Sandro actually, because he played in the Olympics, and I was like, "Oh mate, you saved me because you won the Olympics with Brazil." He's like, "Nah, mate, we got silver. The Mexico beat us in the final." I was like, "Oh fuck!" And so. But I think Brazil won the gold the following Olympics. But yeah, he was part of the Olympics team in 2012, which had Neymar and Oscar and Hulk and Marcelo. It's an amazing team. But no, it's great. They love football here. They're football crazy. That's the thing with being a chair of Brazil Spurs, that Spurs is obviously the majority of them is their second team, because they'll support a Brazilian team first. But they're still so passionate. Like my WhatsApp group, the WhatsApp group for Brazil Spurs Bahia, there's a few of them. It's just non-stop, and they're fanatical as well, because they're used to winning in Brazil. They are used to winning, because there's so many. I don't know if you listen a lot to Tim Vickery when he talks about Brazil, but in Brazil there's so many different chances to win trophies. So you have your regional trophy, then you have your state trophy, then you have the Brazil Cup, then there's so many things that you could win. So teams are just used to winning trophies, and so for these guys being Spurs fans, oh my god, it's a stark. They're very demanding, and it can boil over sometimes, but they're good guys. And so when we have the get-togethers for games, and it's not just. So I'm Bahia, which I think we said off air. So Bahia is the size of France and England combined. There's obviously Rio Spurs, there's Sao Paulo Spurs, Belarus. We have, I think, 20 chapters here across different states, and of varying size and function. Not every, as I'm sure you're aware, not every supporters group is the same. But yeah, being here, just being a Spurs fan in Brazil, and seeing in the 20 years that I've been here how much Brazil Spurs have grown in stature, and we have to tip our hat to the previous chairman a little bit for getting that brand recognition globally. And obviously there's the Premier League, there's the fact that we were playing well under Redknapp and Pochettino. Yeah.
Has the TV coverage changed much in that time too? I know over here, NBC getting the rights was a real sort of adding fuel to the fire that was already beginning to spark, because all of a sudden you had this access, you could watch every game, things like that, and they put money behind it too. They put money and prestige behind promoting the Premier League. And I'm in America, for anybody who doesn't know.
So in Brazil, it's 2-2 now. Jesus, that's a great game. In Brazil, ESPN have the rights to the Premier League, but I don't know if you're aware that Disney Plus have bought ESPN or Disney's bought ESPN.
Yeah.
So we can stream every single game, so I don't miss a Spurs game because on Disney Plus you can. And again, sort of name dropping Tim Vickery again. He hates it. He hates the streaming. He's like, I miss old TV, but I love it. I love it. There's a bit of a delay, so when we're sort of in the Patreon chat and we're watching the game together, I can't like have the Patreon chat there because there'll be a goal and they'll all celebrate, and I'm a minute behind. But yeah, we get all the games here, and HBO has the rights to Champions League out here.
Wow.
And Disney have bought ESPN and by proxy the rights to the Premier League.
I'm curious about the type of Brazilian Spurs fan, like not an expat, not somebody who's emigrated to Brazil, but somebody who's from Brazil and becomes a Spurs fan. Are there any commonalities between those people? Anything you've noticed?
Sure. So I think they love whenever we have a Brazilian player. So see, they love Lucas Moura, Emerson Royale, Sandro, Gilberto, the original. But yeah, like I said, Spurs are usually their second team, so they'll support their local, or maybe not even local. It's weird. It's similar to Man U in England, I guess, where I've got friends that live here in Bahia that support teams from Sao Paulo and Rio because of, and they'll find some tenuous reason, but it's just because they're the biggest teams. But no, I think the fact that we had that prolonged period in the Champions League massively helped. We can't underestimate that. The Pochettino years, Redknapp getting us in there for the first time with the Crouch goal against City. But yeah, they're passionate. I think of a commonality between them. Like, what would we say? But yeah, they just love Spurs. Like I'm quite isolated, so there's a few that live quite close to me. So if I can't get to the get together, and the others can't, we just watch a game to get together here, and we have the flag. I've got the flag. So I went to the trophy parade with Sandro, and he got all the legends to sign the flag. So I've got the Ozzy and Ricky and Redley and all these signatures on the Brazil Spurs flag.
I need to go knock on Ryan Nelson's door, who lives in DC near me, and ask him if he's considered enough of a legend to get me some flags with signatures. The reason I asked the question is because what I've noticed around here in the US, is every time you ask a Spurs fan, like, how did you know, like, why did you pick the club? Like, if they're from here, they're not family ties or whatever. It's usually either, well, my boyfriend liked them, and so I started following them, or, well, wanted to pick a team. I didn't want a great team, but I didn't want a terrible team. But I still wanted a team that was going to, maybe win something and get better. So I was curious if that was a common theme in Brazil too.
Yeah, have you seen the film In Bruges?
Yeah, I think everybody. It has to be mandatory watching if you're a Spurs fan.
Yeah, that line from Colin Farrell, the perfect Spurs line. They're great, but they're not that great. What, like Spurs? Oh, they're just summed it up.
Are there any Portuguese language or Brazilian Portuguese language pods? Just curious, because I know that I think Colombia had one, Japan's got one. There's a few. I think Germany, Sweden, Denmark, obviously.
There are three. Portuguese language podcasts out here, and that's actually how I got the Sandro connection, because this again was during COVID, and obviously there's no games to analyze, so we're scratching around for reasons to get out pods. So we had players on. This the first time I did a pod with Flav, with Tim Vickery. We did with the Trust. We did with X Plays. We did with Charlie Edinburgh, who's Justin Edinburgh's son, and. I was watching. There's one called Galo do Cast. Galo is cockerel, and cast is short for podcast. So the cockerel cast, I guess, would be the English translation. And they had Gomez and Sandro, and I was like, so I went on their podcast, and it was all in Portuguese. Again, really just amazed at how much it was almost just like doing a regular one in English, but obviously in Portuguese. And that's how I got the contact with Sandro, was through that podcast. So yeah, there are three. There's Brazil Spurs. So Brazil Spurs, the official supporters group, the sort of wider, because there's Brazil Spurs, and then it divides up into the different state chapters. We call them núcleos. Galo do Cast, and there's one other one which I've forgotten the name of. So yeah, there's 3, which is crazy. This is just Brazil. Can you imagine, like in India, in China, in other countries around the world? Like this is what we said at the beginning. We are massive.
Yeah, this was a gap that I found when I was looking for podcasts, when I was doing that count of 100, 120, whatever the number was, at the beginning of last season, which I'll update soon, was seeing, these non-English language podcasts come up and thinking I'm probably missing a bunch, because it's going to be, it's not going to say Tottenham Hotspur necessarily when you're searching. It might be in another language which I don't know how to write. So yeah, maybe I've got to get back onto that podcast idea, because I was going to review them. I was going to look into it, maybe use an AI translation or something, and just kind of see what they're talking about, and put that out there. We'll see if that makes the final cut, because I don't want to hold myself to to something that I have to follow up on. So what is the perception of Spurs in Brazil?
It's when I first moved out here, I'd say Tottenham, and the response would be Tot who. So it was, we were, and again, this was 2006, so we hadn't been in the Champions League yet until Redknapp. I think, was it 2009 or 10, the first one under Redknapp. But now, yeah, they Harry Kane, obviously, there's the recognition there. Amsterdam, Lucas Moura, they have the recognition there. So talking to they do follow the Premier League. They do. It is after the Brasileirão, after the Brazilian League. I'd say the Premier League is probably the most watched. I'm trying to think, like, because obviously with La Liga, you've got Madrid, Barcelona, but that doesn't mean that you follow La Liga. That means that you follow a couple of brands. Whereas I think the Premier League as a brand in and of itself is far stronger. So yeah, they know. They know that we struggled the last couple of seasons. The trophy win was massive. I'm not making any sense here. I'm just trying to.
No, it all makes perfect sense. Don't worry.
Yeah, they when there's a Brazilian player, it definitely helps. So Richarlison, they do like Richarlison because he did well in the last World Cup. Like those overhead kicks, bicycle kicks were great, and provided those moments of the World Cup for Brazil in the last one. He's obviously not made it to this World Cup. They do like him. They're so proud of their national team. They are, and they're critical of everyone. They're critical of everyone except for Neymar. They're critical of Vinny Jr. They're critical of Bruno Guimaraes. But Neymar, when Neymar came on, they just went crazy. And I'm just like, he played terribly. I'm like, guys, are you watching him lumbering around the pitch? They're just like, nah, it's Neymar.
And they carried you out of the bar. They threw you out.
Yeah. How dare you?
Do you ever get bantered on the street when you're wearing your Spurs jersey?
Not bantered, but a few. Not like
I get a little bit.
This is what I do love is when I see a fake Spurs shirt. I love that, and I'll always go and shake their hand or give them the nod. The bearded man sort of meme nod.
I'm that weirdo that goes up to the kids in grocery stores and gives them a fist bump, and then their parents are like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, thankfully in Brazil they're not as litigious. In Brazil, the culture here, they'd appreciate that. I wouldn't do that in America, but certainly in Brazil, they wouldn't mind that. But yeah, I do see that. It's a very good point. Like, I do love seeing particularly fake Spurs shirts, because I'm like, someone has gone to the effort to make a fake Spurs shirt and they've decided to pay for it. That to me is better than someone paying the £100 that the Spurs, the club or Nike would charge.
And they've put Troy Parrott on the back. No. All right, so I'm going to be conscientious of your time here. I have 2 closing questions that I try to ask every Tottenham podcaster.
Sure.
And the first one is, we talked about the number of podcasts. Again, could be anywhere between 0 and 100, depending on the day and depending on how I count. And why do you think there are so many Tottenham podcasts? What is it about this club that drives people to sit and spend time behind a microphone?
The thing is, I do think about this, and I think, well, are there 100 Villa podcasts? Are there 100 Palace podcasts? I don't know. Maybe there are. So I'm so laser focused on Spurs that I do try to think sometimes. Am I too narrow minded about my own club, where I'm only seeing the Spurs world, and does this replicate over 20 teams in the league?
But what I can tell you is from I did a Europa League and like preview where I compared how we were talking about that game to Manchester United's podcasts.
Right.
And just trying to find a list of Manchester United podcasts was difficult. Even looking for keywords that, Red Devils, Trafford, whatever, right? They do just have fewer than us, I think.
Wow.
And partly, I believe it's because they have a higher concentration of, and this is just a gut instinct, and I plan to come back to it. They're very well served by mainstream media.
Right.
They're always talked about and always given time every week to really get into a Manchester United game. And they also have quite a bit of coverage, a bit like View from the Lane, from like Manchester Evening News, right? They have dedicated journalist media in that regard, which seems to be more well listened to than us. So their supporters seem to be driving towards not official, but not professional, but journalist forward podcast, as opposed to Spurs fans who I think seem to prefer to hear a supporter's voice. Just my gut instinct.
No, it's interesting. No, I think that is a good point. I think that the media, because I do think we get a rough ride, certainly from Sky.
Yeah.
They were desperate for us to go down. They were itching for us to go down. So I do think, and the fact that even when we have the Spurs pundits, it's Jamie Redknapp, and he hates us. He hates us more than his dad does, because he's more bitter about Redknapp, about Harry leaving than Harry himself. So I think perhaps that plays a role. I just Spurs, like Anne said, Spurs does something strange to you. It does. I just couldn't imagine. I just love talking about Spurs. I do. I love the club. They drive me mad. But I just look, as I going back to the beginning, it was such a big thing for me as a kid to get over shit that you go through when you're 13 and to feel part of something bigger. So for me, just to feel close to my club, and I do. Like I feel through the podcast that I have connected with the club in a way that there was no way that I could have before. As I said, with Sandro, but with the trust, with ex-players, with other ex-players, with other Spurs podcasters. That community, that connection is special. So I think that's it. We are an incredible fan base. We saw that at the end of last season with the bus greets, with the support that we gave the team when the chips were really down. So I just think we're an awesome fan base.
And any advice for an aspiring Tottenham Hotspur podcaster other than go see a therapist?
Don't get disheartened by your stats. Just keep at it. Be consistent. I'm copying Jack here because that's what Jack said, I think. But just be genuine. Don't try and be something you're not. Be nice. Be positive without being happy clappy. Invest in tech. Buy a mic. Don't just and. Yeah, just enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, then no one will want to listen. So, enjoy it. I don't know. I've said about 5 things there, so I think
that's all right. It's a bit like musicians. Make the album, make the podcast that you want to listen to. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like I think a good test of yourself as a human is would you be your own mate? And I think I'd be my own mate. And same with the podcast. It's like, well, would you listen to your own podcast? And as long as you can, as you would, then yeah.
Yeah, and you can find your niche. Hell, I make a podcast about podcasts and I have people listening.
Great. I love it.
Well, thank you for your time, Bren. Anything to plug? Where can people find you? Where can people find the Cheese Room? And anything cool coming up this off season?
Sure, yeah. So anyway, you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, the usual places. But yeah, just the Cheese Room podcast. And as I said, just a bunch of guys talking about Spurs. And we enjoy it, we love it. In terms of new projects, there is one. Annoyingly, I can't say anything about it. There's going to be an announcement at the Hoffenheim game about a fan project that I'm involved in, and it's going to be incredible. And that's about all I can say. But yeah, maybe I'll come back on once it is launched. But it's a fan project, and it's something that's really truly special that will unite the fan base. So it's a really really fun project that will be launched at the Hoffenheim game.
Good Lord knows we need it. So that's so thank you for being a part of it, and thank you for sharing that a little bit here, little amuse bouche.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, and yeah, thanks to everyone for listening. You have already found this podcast, so I don't need to do any more plugging for you. And up the Spurs.
Why are there so many podcasts about Tottenham? Do I want to know why? They might contain insight, but mostly delusions. If I hear one more, I might die. They don't like Levy and they don't like Enoch. They pine for Moo and Conte. Someday we'll like 'em, old Tottenham Hotspur, the podcast clout chasers and me.